Guacamayos, screams on the river. That's what the river Indians call the great parrots. Very little is known about their lives in the dense rainforest. But we do know development is putting their habitat in danger. Scientists are working against the clock on a unique conservation project.
It would see the knots, the nylon, 7 times that birds came up and on the perch, and it would just curve off.
They're monitoring the birds using the most modern technology. Because by protecting the parrots, they can also save the rainforest. Peru's Tambopata River is a paradise for parrots. More macaws live here in the foothills of the Andes than anywhere else on Earth. In places, the river has cut deep cliffs into the red clay. This is a favorite meeting place for birds, and especially the 3 biggest species of macaws: the blue and yellow macaws, the green-winged macaws, and the scarlet macaws. These are exceedingly social birds. Grooming each other's feathers strengthens the bond between a couple. This is also a very special place for researchers, trying to find out more about the parrots' behavior and their habitat. Along the cliffs, they've counted up to 1,700 parrots in a single day. All these birds have come here to eat clay. Their beak marks have literally sculpted this cliff. And they fight over a tasty chunk, as if there wasn't enough for everyone. The macaws gather on a particular section of cliff, and after a few days, they move on to another. But macaws are fruit eaters, so why do they add clay to their diet? And they're not alone. This blue-throated guan is having his morning snack of clay too. The biologists will need samples of the clay. From their hides, they record which species eats when, and above all, where. They'll take hundreds of photographs over several weeks. This section seems to belong to the orange-cheeked parrots. In their search for fruit, these parrots sometimes find unripe, indigestible berries. The clay probably neutralizes the acid in the unripe fruits or absorbs poisons. At any rate, the descendants of the Incas, the Quechua Indians in the Peruvian highlands, still eat their potatoes with a garnish of clay, as they have done for centuries. After an hour, most of the birds fly away, as though on a single command. Some carry a piece of clay in their beaks to feed their young, so it's especially busy here in the breeding season. Near the cliffs is the Tambopata Research Center. This is where the scientists and support teams are based. Donald Brightsmith of Texas A&M University is research coordinator. He assesses the photos.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. It's really cool this every 1 minute because you get a real good map of where the birds are moving.
Yeah.
You can see that they're starting down here in the corner, and then they're spreading across the different soil bands. So when we collect the soil off the lick, we really got to make sure we get all good lines out of those 2 bands.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, when the birds have gone, Donald takes samples of the clay. He has to be very careful. Clumps of clay as hard as rock can break off above him at any time. And the cliff surface crumbles away beneath his fingers. The samples will be analyzed back in Texas. Donald believes the birds don't use the clay just to help them digest their food. It may also have a high salt content.
So our most recent studies have shown that the birds prefer the soils that have the largest amount of clay in them, which is a good strategy because that way they get large amounts of sodium and they get good protection from the toxins in their diet. So we were trying to distinguish between two theories, and it turns out that the data support both of those theories.
These scarlet macaws were raised by hand at the research center at the very beginning of this unique project. The man who started it all is Eduardo Nicanda, an eco-architect from Lima. He's the macaws' foster father. In the early 90s, he built a tiny research station here.
We started this with a worry in the region because we knew that the macaw population here was good, but too many people were coming to hunt them. So we decided to work in this region to protect them.
In those days, hardly anyone lived here. It was a nature reserve left to itself, with no one to watch out for poachers and trophy hunters. By the 1990s, Indian tribes were hunting parrots and monkeys too. They knew how to attract an inexperienced young monkey. But Eduardo Nicanda showed the Eseja Indians that saving all the animals and their habitat could be more lucrative than killing them.
So the way to do that was doing an ecotourism project and a macaw project who can help us to know their biology, and from that we can do activities to protect them.
Back then, Eduardo and his team fought through the dense, humid rainforest, looking out for nests so they could learn more about the macaw's breeding behavior. It was tough, pioneering work. Eduardo taught himself rope climbing. He was one of the first to study these birds in their natural environment. Green-winged macaw parents rarely leave their young. Eduardo and his team soon discovered that there were usually 2 chicks in every nest, but only the firstborn survived. It was stronger to start with, and then it would be fed better. A 3-week-old chick, doing well. A quick grab for the younger twin. The chicks can't be left alone for too long. They need their mother's warmth, and they need feeding every 1 or 2 hours. This one's getting weaker, so Eduardo decides he'll rear it by hand. It's the only way to make up the numbers lost to poachers. Eduardo's research station soon became a parrot kindergarten. Hilary French and Alvaro del Campo, biologists from the US and Peru, joined the parenting team. First, they removed the parasites, weakening the chick. Then they gave it a homemade feed formula. There was no one to tell them what to do. They had to develop all their own techniques. Now their lead has been followed by rearing stations in Bolivia, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. Over the years, Eduardo and Alvaro have reared dozens of baby parrots to adulthood. Often they hatch them themselves. They always leave one egg in the nest. They take the one that's being neglected. Most eggs are kept in these improvised incubators. Baby parrots are blind and helpless. They must be looked after round the clock. At a year old, they're known as chicos. From the start, the team ringed each chico so they could be identified after they were returned to the wild. As camp manager, Patricia Herrera took personal responsibility for the care of the feathers, snapping the shafts almost as skillfully as a mother bird. These brightly colored brushes soon opened out into splendid displays of feathers. But impressive feathers aren't enough if there's no one to teach you to fly. Eduardo and Alvaro became the Chicos' flying instructors. It was all about training the bird's chest muscles. Most of the Chicos flourished at the Tambopata school. But pretty soon, Eduardo discovered another problem: not enough nesting trees. Green-winged and scarlet macaws nest in holes in tree trunks. Eduardo had to learn a new skill: making artificial nests. One of his team found some surplus sewage pipes. Next, they added a climbing frame inside them. They turned out to be a great success. Some of those early ones are still in use today. These blue and yellow macaws presented a different challenge. Their numbers were particularly low. They have several natural predators, especially the coati. Coati eat insects, lizards, and small rodents, but they especially love eggs. A coati regularly surveys the blue and yellow macaw's nests. If he finds an unattended one with chicks or eggs, he goes straight in. The blue and yellows have a second problem. There aren't enough dead palm trees they can use for nesting. Before each breeding season, blue and yellow couples fight hard over every hollow trunk. And when they get a place, they defend it against all comers. So back in the 90s, Eduardo decided to make nests for them too. At first, he had to help nature kill off a few palms. He simply beheaded them. It wasn't easy. It was exhausting and dangerous. And then he did something clever. He hollowed out a piece of the trunk. Nature did the next bit, for the smell of the fresh pulp attracted palm beetles. Their larvae ate into the soft pith of the palm. They gnawed down deep into the trunk, doing most of the heavy work for the parrots. The birds then worked in relays. One would eat and look on, while the other scraped out the shavings. After mating in December, the female broods for roughly 4 weeks, while the male finds the food. There's not much room in the nest. It's snug here, but it's also safe. The only disadvantage is that it's open to the skies and to the rain. That can be a problem in a particularly heavy shower. For the first 4 months, they feed the young on regurgitated fruit pulp. The chick's begging causes a reaction in the mother to bring up the pulped food. The mother shows remarkable skill at the job. Outside, there's always a little time for the grooming of the feathers. This chick is 6 weeks old, and there's barely enough room in the nest. It demands more food every day. Eduardo's nest building and his hand-rearing of the macaws were a complete success. And that led naturally to phase 2. The first eco-tourists. They started to finance most of the research, and the young birds became the main attraction. Back to the present.
These chicos are more than 10 years old right now, and they're still friendly, they breed in the wild, and I really feel like we have done a lot for them so far.
Now at the Tambopata Research Center, they're asking new questions. Donald's colleagues want to find out which fruits the macaws eat and how far the fruit trees are from the clay cliffs. They discover that there isn't enough food in the vicinity to feed the birds all year round. The fruit depends on the climate, and even in the rainforest, there's a wet and a dry season. Parrots are completely vegetarian. They eat more than 100 kinds of fruit, shelling and peeling them with incredible skill. Each tree only bears fruit for a short period, in September and October, before the rainy season. Then the macaws have more than enough to eat, blossom and plenty of palm fruits. But in the dry season, fruit is in short supply. The parrots leave the Tambopata and fly to other regions. Time to take stock.
Talk to you guys for a minute about some of the seasonal patterns that we've been finding. You can see that, let's see, how does this work? Come through here, down again. The low is out in about May. Then it picks back up again into June.
When all the latest data is fed in, they build up a clearer picture of seasonal migrations.
Point right around April and May. There's not much food around, so the birds are apparently taking off. We don't know where they're going. I hope they're not leaving the park. I sure wish we had wings so we could follow them ourselves.
This could be the answer. A miniature transmitter.
This is the first prototype of a satellite collar for macaws. What we're hoping is that if this works, we can get it on a bird, and then we'll actually just receive emails that tell us exactly where the bird is.
But first, you have to catch your parrot. Donald's team are using an old poacher's technique, a slip knot. The bare branches should tempt the parrots to take a rest. Donald hopes he'll find out how far the parrots fly when they leave the clay cliffs. The snares need to be as high as possible, where the parrots usually perch. Almost ready. Then the rains come. This hardly disturbs the birds, but they still prefer to be in the dry. The blue and yellow macaws are the unlucky ones. Their nests in the palm trunks are open to the elements, and that can be dangerous for the chicks, in spite of the oily sheen to their feathers that wards off water. When the clouds pile up against the Andes Mountains, there are heavy downpours, and that means serious flooding. The Tambopata River becomes a torrent, tearing away whole sections of the clay cliffs. These are the natural hazards of life here. Most of the animals can cope when the floods come. This lowland tapir isn't too troubled by the high waters. Other problems are caused by humans, and they're much more difficult to deal with. Like this one, pollution caused by gold prospectors. They're moving further and further upriver, often illegally. It's unhealthy work in churned up muddy waters mixed with oil, gasoline, and exhaust fumes. A pipe sucks up the river sand with its specks of gold. The mixture slides back down a chute, and the mud and gravel is removed. But to separate the sand from the gold, you need mercury. It binds the gold dust together. Mercury is expensive and very poisonous. The prospectors use as little as possible. But even small amounts can be deadly. To remove the gold from the mercury, the water is drained off. And what remains is then vaporized. Breathing in mercury vapor can cause a lingering death. The cloth won't help. The poison accumulates in your body. It's all around here. The vapor condenses and comes back with the rains. In the district capital, Puerto Maldonado, gold brings prosperity as it damages the environment. Yet the city calls itself the capital city of biodiversity. Here's the monument to prove it. Thousands of prospectors bring their gold here to sell it. The lucky ones earn good money. Often at the cost of their health. More and more people are flocking to the town, including the builders of a great transport project. The Transoceanica, a highway linking the Atlantic with the Pacific, passing just 30 kilometers from the Tambopata Research Center. Already they're building a giant bridge over the river. So far, there's just a few bumpy sections, but environmentalists know what is coming. Settlers will arrive in their thousands, burning the forests, hunting the animals, beginning an unstoppable spiral of destruction. Donald and his team urgently need hard information about the parrot's travels to convince the environmental authorities the birds need protection. Time is short. They really have to catch the birds. But bad weather has left its mark everywhere. The final preparations. At last, the traps can be raised. Now it's up to the parrots. Will they be tempted to perch? And then, as usual, they all start at once. Now they have to work fast. They'll want to release this scarlet macaw as soon as possible.
Oh shit, you already have gloves on.
Donald takes a blood sample for genetic tests. They take some feces. Analyzing this will tell them what the macaw's been eating and how healthy he is. The more data, the better. When they get hold of a wild parrot for a few minutes, Donald's team make the most of it.
What is that? This is blood samples for genetic analysis.
The length of the tail feathers is a good guide to his age. This transmitter will keep track of the bird. It's tough. He won't be able to peck it off. The moment of truth. How far will he fly? Will he reveal what he eats and where he nests? Will it be near the Transoceanica Highway? There are no roads in the deep forest. Few signals penetrate here. Better to try down by the river. "33 meters up, the research center's observation tower will give the best reception of all. Clear signals at last. The scarlet macaw is flying northwards fast. He's almost out of range, but Donald has planned for this. He's working with another parrot research station 50 kilometers to the northwest in the Los Amigos protection area. They have an ultralight aircraft especially equipped for radio tracking. Krista Adumek is looking out for the new visitors.
I have an email from Gabriela. They have here the frequencies and names for
4 birds were released at Tambopata today. Krista's expecting them in Los Amigos airspace at any time.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
The ultralight belongs to the Worldwide Fund for Wildlife. Its tracking system uses 2 antennae, 1 on each wing. The GPS is switched on. Krista suspects the parrots need more space to feed and breed than anyone thought. She'll get the best readings at 1,500 meters.
I'm gonna go right over them. Try and keep them up like
They see plenty of macaws, but no signals yet. The GPS also includes all the previous sightings and routes. The left and right antennae have picked up a signal. Depending on the volume in her ears, Krista directs the pilot. Fly right, fly left. When both signals are equally strong, the bird must be directly below them.
No, but here, that way.
That one's an old friend. Then Krista picks up a signal from one of the Tambopata macaws.
That's what I want. I can guide you.
But it quickly fades. It's time to turn back. After they touch down, they feed the new data into the overall record of the bird's movements. Krista was right. The birds fly much further than anyone thought. If vast stretches of forest are cut down to build the highway, the macaws will be short of both food and nesting places.
Our birds have gone a minimum distance of 60 kilometers easily. A lot of them go a lot further than that. For example, this one that went over 125 kilometers to Bolivia. So this is the movement of our birds. And at TRC, we hope to do a similar kind of study, collect the same kind of data, and we'll probably see that they'll have the same movement patterns, go the same distances, and so actually the two places will kind of meet in the middle right where this highway is. We've found that our macaws are using the area along the highway. They're feeding there, they're nesting there, they've migrated there. And we expect that they will continue to do so. I just hope that in the future, when the highway becomes paved and more people start moving in, that they will continue to use it, but I guess only time will tell.
But there isn't much time. The route of the highway has already been decided. Can anything be done to avoid the destruction of the bird's habitat?
The thing is that right now we have a national park, which is really very big. Then we have a national reserve. And then between the highway and these two reserves, we have the buffer zone, which is 150 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide. That area is very important to protect the park. So this buffer zone has to develop activities like ecotourism, like conservation activities, research, agroforestry, activities that don't destroy the forest. So if we do that, then we are going to protect the parks from the negative impact of a highway.
It's time to act and find allies. Eduardo wants to get the local farmers on board for his ecotourism plans in the buffer zone. Eduardo knows he won't win them over with theories. They need a serious proposal. Luckily, his own successful projects are the best evidence. 2 eco-lodges combining research and tourism. There's room for more. The government has split the buffer zone into concessions, with the challenge to use them in an eco-friendly way. The farmers see they can make bigger profits by preserving nature than destroying it. Eduardo talks about sustainable building materials and plenty of jobs. The Parrots will bring the visitors. His powers of persuasion carry the day.
Yeah, perfecto.
Next to the lodge is the observation tower. The farmers see something like this could be a good investment, especially if it belongs to Peruvians rather than foreigners. Up here, it's easy to get a sense of the riches of the rainforest. Harpy eagles nest nearby. This rare bird of prey is an endangered species and a powerful attraction for visitors. Once the Osage Indians hunted the eagles too. Now they protect them and work as tourist guides. Harpy eagles will hunt young parrots, but a sloth or a monkey is easier to catch. Harpies always build a nest with a view of their next meal. This young eagle is almost ready to fly. It has a giant appetite. The center uses a catamaran as an ecological observation platform. The local Indian guides, like Rodolfo Pesha, pass on their knowledge of the animals.
Personally, I'm really happy because we are the people who have the knowledge since we were born here in this area, right? So every time or every year we are learning a lot.
All the guides share what they know. Many have gone on to similar projects in neighboring countries. The hoatzin, or stink bird, is an ancient animal. The young still have hooks on their wings. It's a throwback to the earliest bird of all, Archaeopteryx. These are capybaras. Tamarins and other monkeys scour the forest for leaves and fruit. Male tamarins usually carry the young. A rare sighting of a young ocelot practicing his fishing. The animals on the Tambopata River don't seem to be afraid of humans. A giant anteater in the open in the middle of the day, a sure sign there have been no hunters here for a long time. Anteaters hunt ants with their long claws and with their trunk, poking them deep into the ant colony. When the ants are disturbed, they spray an unpleasant scent as an alarm signal. A thorough wash is then called for. The howler monkeys take no notice of the people as they go on their search for fruit. An oro pendulum on his hanging nest demonstrates his mating dance. And the hummingbird goes blithely about his business. Hummingbirds live all around the Posada Amazonas Eco Lodge. The center is perfectly integrated into nature. The tourists hardly need to get out of their seats to enjoy the wildlife around them. But no one wants to miss the evening walk, even in difficult conditions like sticky mud, sticky heat, and insistent insects.
Okay, okay, guys, let's go. Everybody bring your torch.
Raincoat. Raincoat.
Okay, let's go.
This is a pilot project for Eduardo. 60% of this lodge belongs to the locals, including Eseja Indians from the nearby village. After a few years' training, they'll run the posada entirely on their own account. Night in the tropics falls suddenly. Plenty of animal and plant species are still to be discovered in this evolutionary hotspot. It's impossible to exaggerate their potential value to humanity. But for most visitors, the parrots are still the main attraction. The visitors are prepared to take a 5-hour boat ride from La Posada to Tambopata to see them at the cliffs. There's an entry fee for this stretch of the river. The money collected by INRENA, Peru's Nature Protection Commission, pays the salaries of the game warden. In the rainy season, the Tambopata River is high and full of driftwood. More and more macaws appear. We're close to the clay cliffs. The timing is perfect. The forest opposite the cliffs is the ideal hide for observation. As usual, the smaller birds, like the red-bellied macaws, are the first to come up to the cliffs. Some days, there are as many as 20 different species of macaws here. It's difficult to believe that just 20 years ago, poachers would be waiting here with shotguns to decimate these birds for their meat and their feathers. The guides carefully explain the differences between the species.
A blue and yellow macaw and a red.
That was the hawk. We saw mainly those.
Yeah, maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. Sometimes.
And the visitors finally find out why the macaws are so brightly colored.
This morning when they came here.
That was good.
The colors play a vital role in mating rituals because they're a signal of good health. Macaws are monogamous. A couple stays together for 50 years or more, so it's important to pick a good mate with strong, bright colors. When their meal is over, the birds still have time for socializing. Then they all leave together with a lot of noise. Guacamayos, the screamers on the river. Back to the research center.
It's been an incredible experience. I knew about the macaws and the maclalics before I came here, but it was nothing like what I expected. Just the number of birds and the colour and just the noise, the constant vocalization of the birds. It's just incredible. It's been an amazing experience.
Okay, now you have to try this one.
At the research center, they're always looking to improve their techniques. Gilbert is learning rope climbing.
Okay. Another one. Yeah. One
Too
more.
low.
Yeah, when you do too low, then it's a problem.
Yeah,
no?
I see that.
He will be Donald's research assistant, carrying out nest inspections 30 meters above the ground. In the past, the biologists had to take the birds out of their nests to check them. Now digital photos do the job. Most of the natives in the Indian villages close to Puerto Maldonado have had little education. A retired language teacher gives barmaid Elsa basic English lessons.
My name is Maxi.
My name
My name is Elsa.
That's correct. My name is Elsa. Or my name is Richard. Your name is Elsa.
Yeah.
My name is Maxi.
What's your name?
My name is Elsa. This is one interphone. Yeah.
Now the locals have earned enough money to build an elementary school in their own village. For Cesar Carrasco, an Asecia Indian, the work at the Tambopata Research Center has changed his values.
And then when I started working here, straight, for 3 years more or less, and I moved back to my community for 1 month as a vacation. It was like 8 p.m. more or less. I heard the tapir. And my brother said, "Tapir's coming." And he said, "Shoot!" And then the tapir heard me, boom, running away. Again, they was angry. Why did you shoot? Because I was so nervous. I don't want to kill a tapir.
The research team also give lectures on nature protection. Donald is happy if he can recruit supporters for rainforest conservation. He knows every voice counts.
First of all, I'll tell you a little about the study site, their nesting, the food that they eat.
Donald freely admits that even after years of research, he and his colleagues know little about the amazing variety of species in this region.
And then I'll try and integrate, put all of these pieces
If development continues at its present pace, many species will disappear even before they're discovered. There's an immediate threat in this area.
Here we have Puerto Maldonado down here in the corner, Posada Amazonas, and Tambopata Research Center, the lodges we've visited. And here is the transect that will run, where the interoceanic highway will run. That gives us 30 kilometers from here at Tambopata Research Center. As you can see, the old highway, which was just a dirt highway, has already led to deforestation. As this becomes a better highway and the value of this land goes up, that white area will expand out from both sides. Hopefully, it won't make it as far as we are here.
The fight is on to save the parrot's paradise. Biologists are working to secure Tambopata and its treasures, including 510 bird species around this one center.
The macaws are very important to preserve because this is a colorful species, big enough and easy to spot. So macaws are very easy to use as a flag symbol for a region. The macaw has to be safe in Tambopata because it's like the face of the region. And if we protect their habitat, we protect the rest of the fauna, the local people, and preserve the whole ecosystem.
The Tambopata project has proved that tradition and progress, economics and ecology can go hand in hand, with the parrots as their symbol.